Hey there, students, and this is how to make a text logo for your videos or what all in order to go into Adobe Premiere Pro. First of all, we're going to start off with opening up Photoshop. We're just going to click on here, and you'll probably get an empty screen with no canvas. So I want you to go under File and pick New. This is going to be for a video. So first of all, we'll give it a name. I'm going to be really creative, call it logo. I'm going to say pick film and video. And then the size, we're going for really good quality HD TV. Right here, DVC Pro HD 1080p. Go with that. Awesome. Hit OK. Don't worry about the pixel aspect ratio. And there we go. And you'll notice that these lines right here show you the inside of the television for a small television. And this would be the outside for a large television. Now what we're going to do is we want to get our text tool. We're going to put our logo here. So I want you to hit the letter T or select the text tool. And we're going to click right about here. You'll notice that the cursor is not very high at all. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make it bigger. So go over here and you can type in 200 if you want, or you can actually just grab this and drag it all the way up to 200 or so. Of course, I can just type 200 as well. Bang. All right, now we're going to put in the words. I'm terribly creative. All right, logo. Excellent. Now, once I've got the logo being the size that I want, then I can, and all the typing that I want, I'm going to click on the check mark. Yay. So now I want to move this around, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the Move tool, which is over here, or you can pick the letter V. Turns to the Move tool. You can now grab your logo and move it to wherever you'd like on the screen. I just want to center it right here. That's good. All right, so now what you do have to make sure of, if you want to change the size and things like that, is that Auto Select and Transform controls are turned on. When you have that, then you can pick the logo, move it around, make it a little bit larger. Whoop, stop the computer from shutting down. Make it larger, that kind of thing. Make it wider, and warp it, even backwards. All right, so I like it like this, so I'm going to hit the check mark. Now, I want to add some different effects to this layer. And this logo layer over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on it. Now don't double click right on the name, because then that's going to just change the name. Double click next to it and opens up these layer styles right here. I'm going to move this over so you can see what is going to happen here when I add different things. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in, let's start off with bevel and emboss. And I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add an outer bevel. You see that change right there? I'm going to give it a little bit more depth, a bit more size, and soften it ever so slightly. Maybe I might even add a little texture to it if I want to. Okay, see the big difference that happened right there? I added in some texture. Oh, okay. I also think I want to add a color overlay. Ooh, that's very red. I think that I want to make this maybe a little bit more blue. I can also use my my dropper, my color picker right here, and I can pick any different colors that I see that's actually on Photoshop. So I can't go over here and pick this green, for instance. Okay, so I could pick this gray. That turned out to be a white. And such, but you know what? I think I kind of like that blue that I had before. There you go, close enough. Okay. Now I can add a gradient over that if I wanted to. I can have pattern and outer glow, but I think I'm going to go with a drop shadow. I always like a drop shadow. And so I'm going to put the angle on this side. Now here is something that you're going to notice a lot. The layer styles are often set to multiply, and they have to be set to normal if you want to see it right away. So we're going to add a little bit of distance to this shadow. Maybe a bit of spread. And the size, not too big, because otherwise you see it gets to be a little crazy. So just enough size there. All right, so this is pretty much the way that I'd like my logo. And I think that what I would like to do for this, I want to just be a logo that just floats. So in order to do that, I want to get rid of my background. Right? So I would hold down the Control key, click on the background, and say delete the layer. Delete the layer? Yes, there it is. This pattern here on the background means that it is going to be transparent. And so I'm going to save this, save as, the logo. I go into my movies folder, my 30-second commercial. I'm going to drop it in my media folder, and I'm going to add logo transparent background. All right, I'm going to save that. Okay. Now, let's say that I would, rather than having a transparent background, what I want is I want all of this background here to be a different color. So I'm just going to back up here and undo what I've done. Step backward right there. So now I have my background back again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this. I'm going to paint this white part here. Now, there's several ways that you can paint it. And when you go over here to this tool and you hold it down, you'll see that you have the gradient tool, the paint bucket, and the 3D material drop tool. We're just going to work with the paint bucket and the gradient tool right now. I'm going to pick the gradient tool, or the paint bucket tool, and at the moment, it's going to paint black on there, which is really not going to be that great. Okay, whoops, I got to toss this into my background layer. I'll pick the background layer and then click on it. There it is. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. But I want to demonstrate how to change the color, so I'm going to undo this. And I'm going to click here on the foreground color picker. And the color that I'm going to pick will be maybe a little bit more off blue. There you go. All right, so I've got that now. Now remember, I have to have the background selected if I'm going to paint on it. There it is. All right. You know what? I think I'd rather have a gradient now that I take a look at it. So let me show you how to put a gradient in there. I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to pick a gradient tool. And you'll notice right over here, what it's showing is this blue to white. And up here, the different types of gradients show from blue to white. If I change this to red, now you'll notice that the gradient goes from blue to red. And if you click on this, you can pick a whole bunch of different gradients. Same thing with a starburst or radial gradient and angles and diamonds, all sorts of different ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from the top down to the bottom. And you notice it goes from blue to red. And if I want to undo that, I can have it go up like that as well. I can even, if I just take and do a small amount, see the amount of red that it has. So you can play around with that. You can play around with the star, or I call it the star, but in actual fact, they call it a radial gradient. And that's actually kind of cool. I like that. So I'm going to go and pick Save As. And rather than it being a transparent background, I'm going to call this the full background because it's covering the entire TV screen. I'm going to hit Save. and OK. Now I'm just going to hide Photoshop, and we're going to go into Adobe Premiere. I'm going to import in my two different texts that I just made, two different logos. So let me just go to Movies and Media, and I've got my my transparent background, and I also have my full background logo. I'm going to import both of them in, and now it says merge all of the layers. And if I want to keep all of these different layers, like the background layer and the text layer, if I want to keep them separate, I could say individual layers. But right now, I just want to keep all those layers together. Makes things a little bit easier for both of them. All right. Now, let me show you what happens with my ugly face right here. Oh, that looks really good. All right. I'm going to drag this. I'm going to put it over top. All right. Whoops, picked the wrong one. I'm going to grab this logo. I had both of them selected. I'm going to grab this guy, drop it in over top. There it is. There's our logo. Awesome. It happens to be right underneath my big mouth. So one of the things I can do is I can move it. I can double click on this. Sorry, double click actually on the logo itself here, and I'll move it around. Now, I got to admit that Premiere Pro is a little finicky when it comes to that kind of thing. You might need to play around with it a bit. And if it still won't let you do that, you can go under the effects controls and pick motion. And under position, you can actually change these numbers. And that will always work. So up and down and move it around and that kind of thing. All right. So now I want to show you what it looks like when we have the great big logo in there. So I'm just going to hit delete, get that out of there, and I'm going to drop this in its place. And you notice it covers the entire thing. So when I show you this, the very next frame is the whole logo. And if we turn on the safe margins, you'll see the outside of the biggest television that's made for this ratio and the ratio for the smallest television, and it covers pretty much the entire screen. And there we go. That's how to make a logo and drop it into your movie.